Lin Barrie, we are so excited to be talking to you today, and thank you so much for inviting us to come and visit your beautiful studio here in Mahenye. Take us through your journey, Lin, as an artist, and how you have lived with the Tsonga people in the Low Veld, particularly the people of Mahenye.
Perfect. So the interesting thing, the journey that I'm on with my art at the moment is very much involved with living in the Mahenye community. And that is a community in the southeast of Zimbabwe. It's a very remote community at the end of a very long dirt road. And I'm living here because I'm with my partner Clive Stockil, and we live in the Mahenye community as village people. We are a long association, and I've been living here since 1997 in this area. And we just feel like we're part of the community, and we learn so much from them. So my art is quite important for me from that respect. The Mahenye community is a big part of the culture that I'm painting because I love dance. And so for me, dance is a coordinating factor between cultures. So I'm taking the Mahenye dance as a very interesting community component. And then I'm also looking at other kinds of dance. So that's where I am at the moment, southeast of Zimbabwe with Clive Stockil. And we live on the edge of Gonarezhou National Park. So that also is a really interesting challenge because Gonarezhou National Park is the wild, and biodiversity living right on the edge is the Mahenye community. So that Mahenye community is the contact zone between, say, elephants and people, lions and cattle. So a lot of my work is now beginning to be based around that theme.
Conservation and culture are some of the major themes in the Low Veld, and we like how you are including them in your art. You mentioned that you live with Clive Stockil in the village. What's your relationship with Chief Mahenye and the Tsonga people surrounding you?
That's a very interesting question in terms of being part of the chief, and I love that that we are a child of the chief because, yes, I think in the culture that's one of the things I have learned is that it's a very strong patriarchal culture, and there are very many good things in a patriarchal culture as well as there are many bad things. As in any culture, there's the negatives and the positives. But with living in the Mahenye culture, there's a very strong tradition of the people living with wildlife because in Mahenye, they've always been associated with wildlife. Gonarezhou and the national park, even before it was a national park, they actually lived in the park. So I think what I've really learned from them and being part of the community is the resilience. They keep resilient against all odds. They have to have crops growing with elephants. They have to herd their cattle with lions. They have to guard their goats against hyenas. And we are realizing that now, living as part of that community, as part of the chief's family. The chieftainship is under the Chauke clan. So Chief Mahenye is a Chauke. And the Chauke are a very strong clan. There are many Chaukes in the village who are all related and interrelated. And yes, we feel like we are part of the Chauke clan because he invited us to be here. So we are very honored by that. We don't take it lightly, and we try to be good neighbors, as all people should be to each other. So I just feel like we've got a lot to learn from each other. And it comes back to culture, or to share dance, or to share art, or to share food, is sharing a common human experience that can make everybody get along better and kind of goes above race, creed, religion. So I feel like probably what I've learned most from it is interaction with other cultures and how special that is, and how to accept other cultures with your own culture and to interrelate. And I hope that that's reflected with my art.
You're wearing the Shimatsatsa fabric, which is a Tsonga cultural fabric. What's your experience with local dress and adornments? And we also wanted to hear from you, Lin, what you think about fashion and other textiles, how they have influenced your work as an artist, working between Harare and the Low Veld.
I think that's a very interesting question that you've noticed. As you say, I'm wearing Chimatsatsa fabric, but I've created it into a more kind of maybe West African or an European or whatever style kaftan. So I feel like those cultures can mix. And I think it's because when I left art school, I worked 10 years in textile design. And I was working in Harare with a very big cotton company creating designs for textiles. So I've always liked fabric. I like textiles. I like working with textile. I like painting. Obviously, my art is on canvas, which is a very strong cotton textile. So I'm a lover of textiles. I like fashion. I find fashion is also part of culture that can transcend boundaries. And fashion can be multi-layered. So I work with people like Denai of House of Stone. I work with people like I Wear My Culture, which is part of the Culture Fund. So I'm very co-creative and collaborative with people who are in fashion or the film industry, because I find I like that creativity. So I guess that translates into my clothing. And I do love the Shangan sense of color and joy in color. So when the Shangan or the Tsonga or the Hlengwe ladies dress up, it's very colorful. So whether you're talking about a dance group or just even ladies wearing their wraps on the road in Zimbabwe or Mozambique or South Africa, you'll always see incredible color. And I think that's just so vibrant. So it speaks to me. I enjoy it very much. And it's an area that I find fascinating from history, because a lot of these fabrics came down the east coast of Africa during the trade with Arab and Indian dhows. Gold and ivory would have been traded out of these areas to the ships and the dhows that came down, and they would be traded for fabric and beads, especially the salampur fabric, which is a striped fabric used in the skirts, and the beads would all come by that trade down that east coast of Africa. So the history of the fabrics and the history of the beading and the history of the dress culture is very strong. I suppose in the beginning people would have used bark fiber, and then it would have translated into other fabrics that were available to them. So hence my interest in fabric. And I like the cross-culture, yeah.
Okay, what are some of the key challenges faced by artists in Zimbabwe, particularly those working in rural areas and small towns where we feel like opportunities are often limited compared to major cities? And we also wanted to hear from you, how has the economic downturn affected the growth, sustainability and success of Zimbabwe's creative industry?
The economic challenge of art, and I think as an old artist I can say I hope that my art stays fresh and young and gets fresher and younger as I get older. But the challenge is economics, because it's difficult. Zimbabwe's economics are not easy. Luxuries like art and like going to the doctor every week or going to have your hair done every week, those kind of luxuries fall by the wayside when people are struggling just to send their children to school or to buy the food from the shelf of the supermarket. So economics are not easy, and it's a strange situation because our economics in Zimbabwe are difficult. But at the same time, Zimbabwean artists are getting very well recognized overseas, and in the bigger art world of international art, Zimbabwean art is really making waves. Zimbabwean artists, and certainly particular ones like the very wonderful Moffat Takadiwa, people are creating art that is really getting noticed internationally. But the dichotomy is that back at home in Zimbabwe, we still find it very difficult to maintain the galleries, to sell their art locally, because people have not got that capacity. So for me, the big challenge is how do we manage to bring those external art appreciators back into Zimbabwe? Zimbabweans are always going out to sell their art. But how do we bring the art appreciators into Zimbabwe? We need people to come and see us in Zimbabwe, to visit and appreciate our art. And that's part of showing our culture, sharing our stories, creating the platforms that will make international visitors want to come and see the art that Zimbabwe has to offer, as opposed to only seeing Zimbabwe artists in a gallery in London or in a gallery in Miami or in a gallery in LA or even in a gallery in South Africa. We need to bring it back, and that's what I was saying earlier. Cheuka Art Fair is one of those initiatives to start trying to encourage art collectors to look at Zimbabwe as a destination to come and look at good art. So Cheuka Art Fair, First Floor Gallery, Loft 3 Gallery, there's some galleries in Zimbabwe now that are beginning to consistently show art that is encouraging people to come in and look. That's the big challenge economically.
I like it when you talk about bringing art appreciators back home. What practical initiatives do we have that can help identify, promote and create more opportunities for talented creatives in remote rural areas like here in Mahenye, and make sure they earn from their artworks? This is a very important discussion, Lin, that we need to make sure that we always have, because our interaction with some artists that we met here in Mahenye, we just felt like they still need more opportunities.
That's a really thoughtful comment, because it relates back to, yes, we want the internationals to come to Zimbabwe to look at the National Gallery in Harare or the National Gallery in Bulawayo. We want people to also appreciate the art that can be in Mahenye or in Boli village or in Matopus or in Victoria Falls. So I think we've started making quite an interesting development, which is the festivals, like the Budula Festival of dance. It's a follow-on from many festivals which have been held by the chiefs around Gonarezhou. But those kind of festivals, even if not many international people attend them and talk, and it gets documented and talked about and roll on. And those kind of festivals begin to build up the capacity of people in the villages to realize that my clay pot is good art, or my beadwork can be noticed, or I can create a dress that is new and exciting and I can show it. But it's not always going to be an instant financial reward. And I remember when I was an artist starting out, the only way I survived was I did every craft fair that there was in Harare. I did all the shows. I carried my art from fair to fair to fair to show, and just showed people what I was doing. And I was able to show people, and then they would start slowly buying. The challenge in all of these outlying communities is, how do you show people? And I think those kind of festivals and the possibility of museums where international guests and even travelers from Harare or Bulawayo or Vic Falls can visit and actually see that. So I think that locally would be a very good answer. Is we've already made a start. I think Budula Festival, I think the possibility of museums. There's local initiatives in Mahenye to try and get a small cultural festival going, which Liberty Chauke can tell you more about when you meet him. So there's initiatives, and I think those are the things that you need to build some awareness that people can be visual. Yes, workshops are important, but workshops are only as good as the follow-through. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Lin. As we conclude, is there anything else that you would like to share with us about how artists can improve their skills, support one another, and learn from each other?
Yeah, I can't think of anything really offhand, except I can't emphasize enough the value of collaboration. So I feel like no matter whether you're an artist or a writer or a filmmaker or a doctor or a lawyer, collaboration with like-minded people is always going to give you more strength than just trying to do it on your own. And as an artist, definitely, if you're just trying to make it on your own as an artist without collaboration, you are going to be a voice in the wilderness. You need to collaborate, you need to be prepared to just put in the work and to get to the places where you will be the most visual. This is an actual skirt, 15 meters, with beading, and it's made by a young girl called Junia Matsuve in Chiredzi. She's in Chiredzi and she's making these. And I saw this at the National Gallery of Zimbabwe, and I bought it from her.
Lin Barrie, thank you so much for talking to us. We truly appreciate the work you are doing, and we would like the rest of the country to know about the wonderful work you are doing in the Lowveld and Harare. We encourage everyone to visit the Lin Barrie Art Studio here in Mahenye and experience its rich cultural and artistic diversity. Pasmo Ndlovu talking to Lin Barrie at Lin Barrie Art Studio in Mahenye Village, located in the southeastern Lowveld of Zimbabwe.